Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday drawing session with me, Frank Cho. There's my trusty Pentel mechanical pencil with 0.7 HB lead and my kneaded eraser. And I will be drawing on my favorite Strathmore Bristol board, which has a vellum surface, 300 series. Has a tooth that I really like. It grips the pencil just right. Today we are going to draw the Rhino. Rhino is a Spider-Man villain created by Stan Lee and John Romita Sr. Now, I decided to draw the Rhino because I just recently saw the Kraven the Hunter movie where the Rhino makes an appearance in the trailer where he's actually smashing trucks and stuff like that, which I thought was really cool. I could tell the movie's gonna be crap, but it looks fun. So anyway, so Rhino is I like Rhino because Rhino has a very distinct look. Because of his name, he's a dude in a rhino suit. So that's what the history of Rhino is. The Rhino is I think like a Russian mob henchman who was put into bonded with this superhero suit that looked like a rhino. It has two horns and all that. So because of that, I want to draw a rhino charging. So because he has that horn, you want to like showcase the horn. So I drew him in a profile, just kind of like rampaging through the across the paper. And so when I'm drawing Rhino, when I'm drawing this figure, you want the kind of the figure angling forward, charging forward. So you want his head down to really showcase that beautiful horn. That's the reason why. That's the reason I'm drawing this, because I really wanted to draw this like really intense action sequence where the Rhino is just charging in a profile. So you have the really forceful lean of the figure as he's running, and the horn, the profile of the horn. And so with Rhino, like all massive superheroes and villains alike, they're actually I'm essentially drawing a gorilla, because if you really look at it, their arms are longer than their legs, especially with the Rhino in this case, because you want the arms to be kind of long to showcase the musculature and all that. So if he had like real body proportion, then he'll look like a basically like a butterball with these short, tiny arms. So to make it look cool, you have to elongate the arm almost like a gorilla, and kind of shorten the leg. I mean, the leg isn't shortened; the leg is more realistically proportioned. So whenever I'm drawing these bulky character, I am essentially drawing gorilla anatomy. So when you're drawing comic books, especially characters, it's all about exaggerations and gesture. So some of the anatomy doesn't really work in real life, but in comic books, if you exaggerate enough, it just really pops. So I'm drawing the profile, the side profile. So the Rhino is actually a pretty interesting character. As I said before, Rhino was a Russian henchman, I think. His name is Alexka Sketevich or something like that. And so he was bonded with this superhero suit, which has thick skin and also gave him superhuman strength, and this horn that could really penetrate steel plated armors and stuff like that. And I think later on, his strength increased when he was actually exposed to gamma radiation. So he became like almost like a as a Hulk like strength. So I'm really am kind of curious how they will portray him in the movie. Again, it's all CGI. I thought they could have made him more tank like the Hulk. He seemed a little bit too lean for my taste in the trailer, but maybe they might change it, tweak it a little bit, make it more comic book like. So I actually read about the Rhino a little bit before I started drawing this, and the more I read, the more crazy this character it sounds. So I tried to incorporate a lot of the rhino like element into this drawing because the rhino has this kind of like a very thick skin that kind of bunches up in the joints area, and then it's kind of armor plated. So I tried to add more rhino like texture. So you want to give him this, since he's essentially a human rhino, where he's charging at things and headbutting things, you want to give him this really thick neck and also like a really thick trap, trapezius. And you want to give him this like this massive arms. So you want to give him like this Hulk-like proportions. Drawing the elbow. So I decided to like make the arm thicker by increasing the tricep head. Again, I can't stress enough the learning your anatomy. Um, Sorry, I paused there because I was listening to an audiobook, and then one of the chapters kind of like the track skipped. So I was trying to figure out what was going on. So anyway, so yeah, the Rhino is all about the suit. And he has just really great looking textured suit. It's one of the more goofy characters, goofy superheroes. Essentially, a guy dressed as a rhino, headbutting things. Again, that's what makes comic book great because there's a lot of like just goofiness, especially when you're a kid. You just love this kind of stuff. The big hulking monsters with a horn in his head. Charging at people. So there's the quad and the butt and the hamstring and the calf muscle and so another great artist that you should look for gesture is George Bridgman. So he was a art teacher back in the turn of century, and he would draw these like great gestural drawing. He used to teach at up in New York. I forget the name of the school, but he would teach there drawing, teaching gesture drawing. So the key to gesture drawing is to stay loose, but you have to know your anatomy. Once you learn your anatomy, then you can really mess around with gesture drawing. So, how do you learn your anatomy? I learned my anatomy by looking at a lot of bodybuilding magazines. So, I used to wrestle in high school, and and our coach really encouraged us to lift weights. So, I got into really heavy into weightlifting as a kid, and me and my buddies we used to read and collect bodybuilding magazines to figure out how to increase our strength, and also mainly for me to get bigger because I was a kind of a skinny kid. And bodybuilding really helped me. Bodybuilding magazine really helped me understand the human anatomy, how the muscles fold and looked, and and behaved and stuff like that. So I had a blast drawing this rhino. I mean, it's just everything about it was just fun. So there I am adding the texture on the suit. So the rhino does have this kind of like this pebbling of the skin, and just adding these little texture just enhances the drawing more. And so the deltoid has three heads, three muscle groups. So you have the front, middle, and back. And there's the bicep vein that I like to add, which doesn't make any sense because he's wearing a suit, and so he shouldn't have any veins showing. But it just that little detail just makes the suit look cooler. So I'm just erasing the highlights into the to the veins and all that. Just makes that vein pop. Just adding the fold, the crinkle in the joint area, which makes sense because that's where all the a lot of the bending and folding happens. So you kind of add that little the crease there. I really hope that Kraven movie is okay. I mean, I know it looks kind of it's Sony, so it's gonna be terrible, but I hope it's gonna be entertaining. That's one thing I never understood. These movie companies buy these properties and then just completely ignore the source material. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then you have movies like Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine who actually know the source material and understand it and love it. Their movies make over $1 billion, and all these studio heads are scratching their heads, saying, "Oh, we don't understand why their movie made $1 billion, and while our movie gets ridiculed and laughed at." So I really wish like someone who really loved the source material would have made these Sony movies. Again, I'm hoping I'm hoping that the Craven movie is decent. I know it's going to be kind of like terrible, but I hope it's entertaining. And also, I kind of want to see Rhino running around destroying things. So to make the figure 3D, you have to figure out the source, the light source, and then use that light source and shade in all the areas where the light source is opposite of. So the light source is kind of from like about 11 o'clock angle. So everything under that, that's where you shade in and just kind of thicken the line, the shade in and all that. So that gives it that nice three-dimensional look. And shading doesn't really have to be accurate, but it should be consistent. I mean, like that leg that I'm drawing right now, the shadow is not, technically it's not really accurate, but it looks cool. That's what comic book is about, Stick to your anatomy, know your anatomy, and then and shade in and highlight certain parts to make it look cool. Yeah, so that's really a cool image. Just a rhino just charging. So of course, rhino charging, creating havoc. You want all these like debris and rocks and brick walls and stuff, like just kind of like being shattered and being being thrown about. That just makes the drawing so much better. So there I am with rhino charging. You need to you know add all these debris around flying. So when you're drawing debris, you just want to make it as random as possible. I mean, when I'm drawing this, there is no set plan. I just like add debris and chunks of rocks. That looks good, and also drawing the dust cloud. So this pencil stage is always fun for me because I can just draw and erase and draw and erase, until things come out pretty cool. So I decided to draw Spider-Man. So Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. So, and Rhino is Spider-Man's one of Spider-Man's arch enemies. So I just wanted Spider-Man just kind of riding the Rhino, kind of trying to stop him. Again, just gesture drawing. So I decided to start with the leg first here. So there's where the hip is, the thigh, and then the upper torso, and have the Spider-Man really lean back. Again, comic book is all about exaggeration. So you want to really, get into the character, see Spider-Man just like leaning way back, trying to rein in the Rhino. So my favorite Spider-Man artist of all time is John Romita Sr. To me, he is the definitive Spider-Man artist. He just made Spider-Man so classy, and his design is the one that Marvel Studio uses for the movies. Steve Ditko is fantastic. He has a very quirky style, but I prefer John Romita Sr. over Steve Ditko because I thought Steve Ditko was just a little bit too weird and quirky for my taste, while John Romita Sr. Just made everything classy and just fun. There's a soap opera quality to it that was just fun for that comic. And all of his guys look handsome, and his women look just absolutely beautiful. And Romini Senior was just absolutely a fantastic artist. With a great master of anatomy and stuff like that. He just made everything look so classic and clean and beautiful. And there's no other way to say it. So there I am, just kind of drawing the Spider Man, leaning back. So again, when I'm drawing these profile drawing is always kind of fun for me because it kind of like it's like you're looking at it almost like a stage play. So there's two characters running across the stage, and the way their profile is looks, you could understand what's happening just looking at their profile. If you just black out the images, you can see what was happening. You can see a guy just trying to hold this hulking monster back as it's running, and so that's part of understanding drawing. You want drawing is about communication. Art is about communication. And if the reader, the viewer, doesn't understand what's happening, then you failed as an artist. So that's why I don't like abstract art. Abstract art is absolute garbage because art is about communication. And if you do your art right, you can easily relay the information to the viewer and the reader, and you succeeded as an artist if people understand what you're drawing, and especially in comics, sequential art, narrative art form is all about communication. So you really need to learn how to transfer idea on paper. Look at a lot of movies. The first part of movie is storyboarding, and storyboarding is essentially comic books. And so comics and movies has a very kind of has a like a partnership in the webbing. I know a lot of people have trouble drawing the web, which I never understood. I thought the webbing was pretty simple. You just have the web kind of radiate out from the head downward. And John Romita Sr. just made it simple. And I know that people had like a rough time understanding the webbing. Like even some of the greats had like trouble drawing the webbing. I know that Jack Kirby had a hard time drawing the webbing pattern on Spider-Man's costume. A lot of the image guys also had trouble understanding the webbing design of Spider-Man, and I guess it's more stylistic. They're going for the more of the Steve Ditko look, which was like a lot of narrow webbing, design. While John Romita Sr. had a very pleasing pattern to Spider-Man's webbing. So just drawing more debris, just flying around. Now the artist who draws absolutely great debris and just things, chaotic stuff, is Jeff Darrow. Jeff Darrow is absolutely a master of that, of the intricate design and chaos, and so yeah. I mean, when I'm feeling when I want to feel inspired, I look at a lot of Jeff Darrow stuff, Mobius stuff, because they're two absolute masters at drawing these like really fun little details, especially Jeff Darrow. Jeff Darrow, I mean, I stare at his drawings, his comics all day long because it's just so fun. Because he had so much to every drawing, you know. I mean, it's a bit of an overkill with him sometimes, but he still makes it work. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Jeff Darrow. I mean, he's like one of my favorite artists right now. Actually, I kind of wonder if Jeff Darrow ever drew Spider-Man. Spider-Man or the Rhino. I know he didn't really do too much Marvel work. I think he did mostly Dark Horse work. Shaolin Cowboy, Hard Boiled, Rusty and Big Guy. So yeah, he was mainly mainly an indie guy. So about Jeff Darrow is a fantastic artist. So he was the main concept artist and designer on the first Matrix movie, or the first Matrix trilogy, the good one. And the good Matrix, not the recent one, which is terrible. So if you look at the Matrix movie, all this machine design and all those gun battle where chunks of the walls are just blown apart by bullets, that's all Jeff. Yeah, that's all Jeff Darrow. So whenever I actually draw debris and stuff like that, where I think of Jeff. I think of Jeff and his artwork. Love that guy's stuff. So again, the pencil stage. This is one of my favorite stage because it's if you make a mistake, you just erase it and just kind of fix it. So this is a stage where you're just having fun. You're just like throwing a bunch of stuff out there. So when you're drawing debris, you have to think three-dimensionally. So you think of the foreground, where all the rocks are being shattered in the foreground, and in the midground, where the main figure is. And then you think of the background, where you draw the more rocks and stuff like that. So when you think of those three plane, environmental plane, then you can actually improve your drawing or give it a more depth and the three-dimensional look of the overall illustration. Yeah, just adding little details where the spider web strand is snapping from the force of the rhino. That also kind of add to the strength and the unstoppable force of the rhino. And I can just like noodle and add all these little details on the figures and the debris and all that stuff all day long. So this is a point that I need to like. You don't want to go too crazy, because you have to stop eventually, and so I'm at that point where I need to start thinking about just stopping because I can just constantly add these little details, and then there comes a point where it's just too much, and then you just kind of kill the drawing. So so at this point, I am kind of like figuring out, you know, when do I stop? That's always a problem with me sometimes when I really get into a drawing. It's just like, okay, when do I stop? Because I can noodle and just cross hatch something to death, which is also, you know, a bad thing. So you kind of like, I guess like someone said like there's an old saying, artwork is never finished, it's just abandoned. And with drawing something like this, yeah, you just have to kind of like stop, force yourself to stop and just abandon the drawing so that you can move on. There's the ankle. Shading. Shading is very important. A guy who does really great shading, who understands shading and light and shadow and just makes it so easy and fun is Dave Finch. Dave Finch is a fantastic artist. Really enjoy his stuff. His Batman stuff was fantastic. So was his Wolverine stuff. And his Moon Knight was great. I'm just tweaking the mouth, have him kind of like have his mouth open where he's like yelling and grunting in effort and in exertion. Again, I'm just texturing. Which takes forever, and which would just eat up your time. Just adding the crease in around the wrist. Again, so I'm just erasing the highlights into the figure, just adding more three-dimensionalness. I love drawing rocks. I've always loved drawing rocks. I don't know why. I'm just kind of smudging the pencil to give it that more of a soft shadow texture, and also kind of add to the almost like a blurring effect to that. There's motion. So I'm just adding darkening areas, adding the finishing touches. Yeah, I really like how this turned out. I mean, I actually had a really great time drawing this. Rhino versus Spider-Man.